U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken landed in Tel Aviv, Israel on Sunday to try to seal a ceasefire deal after months of negotiations. He will meet with Israel's Prime Minister on Monday. The U.S. and fellow mediators, Egypt and Qatar, said they are closing in on a deal, with American and Israeli officials expressing cautious optimism. But the Hamas terrorist group has signaled resistance to what it calls new demands by Israel. Thousands of Democratic Party delegates this week will gather in the U.S. Midwestern city of Chicago to celebrate Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as their presidential ticket for 2024. VOA senior Washington correspondent Carolyn Prejuti reports.
This week in Chicago, Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz begin their party's convention with some momentum. Last month, President Joe Biden was trailing Republican candidate Donald Trump in political polls. Since Biden dropped out, candidate Harris has risen in those polls. Last week's Morning Consult survey showing her 3 points ahead of Trump, although it remains a tight race. Chicago officials expect as many as 50,000 out-of-town visitors for the convention, with the city's United Center hosting the Democratic Party events. Carolyn Presutti, VOA News.
Thousands of activists are expected to converge in Chicago this week for the Democratic National Convention, hoping to call attention to abortion rights, economic justice, and the war in Gaza. While Vice President Kamala Harris has energized crowds of supporters as she prepares to accept the Democratic nomination at the event this week, progressive activists have maintained that their mission remains the same. This is VOA News. Ukraine said on Sunday it had struck a second bridge in the Kursk region, seeking to disrupt Moscow's supply routes as Kyiv's unprecedented incursion on Russian soil stretched through its second week. The Ukrainian Air Force commander said on Telegram, minus one more bridge, publishing an aerial video of a blast tearing through a bridge near a Russian town. It was unclear when Ukraine carried out the attack. The commander did not give a date, and Russian military bloggers shared photos of destruction from what appeared to be the same bridge dated Saturday. A cholera outbreak in Sudan has killed nearly 24 people, and its health minister said on Sunday there are hundreds of cases. AP correspondent Rika Ann Garcia reports.
The African nation has been shaken by a 16-month conflict and devastating floods. The nation's health minister said in a statement that at least 22 people have died from the disease and that more than 300 confirmed cases of cholera have been detected across the country in recent weeks. The cholera outbreak is the latest calamity for Sudan, which was plunged into chaos when simmering tensions between the military and a powerful paramilitary group exploded into warfare across the country. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
Tropical storm Ernesto is sending powerful swells and rip currents up the U.S. East Coast, and the former hurricane will continue to do so as it keeps moving north on Monday. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
The East Coast feeling the effects of Ernesto, flip-flopping between hurricane and tropical storm, bringing rip currents and high surf. In Bermuda, where power is coming back, Lyndon Rayner with the government's disaster risk reduction and mitigation team says so far no major damage reported.
We have survived Hurricane Ernesto, and so now all efforts are being made to have the island return to some form of normalcy.
The National Hurricane Center says Ernesto's not done with us yet. As it travels toward Newfoundland, it will continue bringing rip currents and high surf. Julie Walker, New York.
Environmental activists tied themselves to a lock on Sunday at the port of Amsterdam, halting an incoming cruise ship for several hours, the port and a climate group said. The Serenade of the Seas, with 1,000 cabins, was finally able to resume its route to the popular tourist destination, according to a spokeswoman for the Port of Amsterdam. An oil tanker was also prevented from docking. The activists spray-painted "Oil Kill, Stop Cruise Ships" on the doors of the lock they had tied themselves to, according to footage broadcast live online, their video stream XRTV. Police arrived on the scene to remove 8 protesters, according to Dutch news agency ANP.
Thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? Please leave a comment in the comment section below. That would really help. Thank you, and see you again soon.